Most owners believe that when they're doing succession planning, when you look closer at it, they're usually using kind of one of three methodologies. This model is the first model that consistently works because it finally includes the part that every other model ignores. It includes the human side, and it makes it easy. When you have successors coming in, they're the ones that need to believe that this roadmap forward is the right one for them.
Welcome to the Business Transition Roadmap. My name is Elizabeth Ledoux, and through my years, I have seen how communities thrive when business succession and transition are done well. Me and my team at the Transition Strategists have been helping business owners develop and implement transition strategies for over 30 years. And on this show, we want to help you by giving you the roadmap to a healthy business transition. Let's get started.
Today, what I want to talk to you about is what we call Transition 3.0. It's a term that we coined, and I like the concept of it because it helps you to understand what you're trying to accomplish with your strategic planning, as far as your succession is going, and what to do that'll put the odds in your favor of it being very successful. This is what we practice all the time. So which one are you doing? Transition 1.0, 2.0, or 3.0? Most owners believe that when they're doing succession planning, that it's just succession planning. And when you look closer at it, they're usually using kind of one of three methodologies. And these methodologies shape everything. It shapes whether your transition brings clarity or it brings confusion, unity or frustration, sometimes momentum or even resistance. So today, I'll walk you through these three different levels, and hopefully you'll be able to see exactly where you are, what your family or team is doing right now, and maybe some shifts on what you might think could be more helpful for you in the future. So we're going to start with Transition 1.0. This, I think, is the way that it's been done for the longest, maybe the oldest manner in which people approach this. And it is still pretty common out there. It's a transition model that a lot of families use, and especially if you think about the family business as a set of assets. So not an active operating company, but more like, an investment company or even personal investments that are going to have to be taken over by another generation in the future. That is how this is a very common model. So what it sounds like is I'll tell them when it happens. So that's kind of that mindset. I'll just tell them when it happens. So everything is kept private. Decisions sit in the owner's or the founder's head, and no one knows the plan. No one knows the timing. No one knows the reasoning or the why behind it. Literally, it's kept in either somebody's head. It could be in the will. But it really is unspoken. So owners tend to choose this because it feels like it's controlled and safe. They don't have to make any promises to anybody. Nobody gets entitled or feels like they're going to, have something today. And usually the owner's intentions are really good. They're very, very good. They're just trying to avoid the drama and protect the people and keep the business stable and they just don't want to get out over their skis. They don't want people to do that. So the downside, and this shows up pretty often, if not every time, when you tell them when it happens, whatever it is, and it could be where you pass away and you're no longer on the planet. It also could be where you wake up one day and you're not able to go to work, or you choose. I've had an owner who said, "Hey, I'm 65. I'm not working again. I'm done." So it can be any event. It's kind of going off of a cliff for those who are around you, because typically families are blindsided. Successors are unprepared because they had no idea and no teaching from you of how it was going to happen. There's the shock actually can derail some good decisions, many times because people are in mourning or something usually terrible has happened. the good decisions aren't clearly made. There can be resentment or fractured relationships, and lots of times, gosh, too many times, legal disputes happen, especially if you've got a blended family or if you've got kids who believe or have a strong emotional attachment to something that they really want that and they'll fight for it. So the legal battles, it hurts my feelings when that happens. It's just terrible for a family when the intent of the owner was potentially to leave a beautiful opportunity for others, and it really goes sideways. So even a great plan can explode when it's not delivered well and it's delivered as a surprise. And that's what Transition 1.0, that's where it falls short, is no one else knows what's coming. And the owner did protect them potentially and protect themselves in, some of the drama. It really doesn't end up the way that they had intended. So we'll move on to Transition 2.0. This one is more about informing and announcing. So when the next generation shows up, it's like the concept is tell them early, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to tell them early, and you're going to announce the plan in advance. But the key to this 2.0 version is the plan is already decided. So you're going to tell them in advance, but it's already decided. This is how it's going to be. So not quite as big of a cliff that you're going off of, but definitely you've got that piece where it says they aren't going to get a lot of runway to get ready. So this model was created to avoid the disasters of 1.0, and it is better for sure. The communication is better. The timing is earlier. The intention provides clarity. So that's helpful, but still it's a top-down type of a structure. It's a top-down type of a process. As we take a look at Transition 2.0, this is more of an inform and announce kind of a thing where you're looking at telling your next generation early. So you're not waiting until it actually happens. You're going to tell them early. And Transition 2.0 sounds like this. It's I'll announce the plan in advance and it's already decided. So this model was created to help avoid the disasters of 1.0. So your successors aren't feeling like literally they're walking off of a cliff. You're there 1 minute, you're not there the next minute. That feels like a cliff. So the communication in Transition 2.0, yes, it's better. The timing's earlier, absolutely. And the intention is for you to help them to gain clarity and understand what the plan is. But this structure is still a top-down structure. So in this Transition 2.0 model, the plan is built privately with typically your technical advisors, which are CPAs, attorneys, estate people, business advisors, could also be your financial advisor involved to make sure that you have enough money to live out the rest of your life. And that you understand how these assets are going to get transferred. The family or the key leaders, they're informed. They're not included. And so what happens is the owner manages their reactions at the time they're informed without integrating any perspectives. So again, your receivers are just receiving the information with the plan already done. So you assume as the owner transitioner that there will be alignment, right? And you assume that everybody wants to be in, everybody's excited to be in, and everybody wants that ownership of whatever that asset is. That is not always true. So what happens in this model is people stay quiet because they don't want to challenge the owner. They need to or want to be seen as grateful. Grateful that this opportunity even exists and not challenge the owner in any way because that owner is their leader typically. And so the silence gets interpreted sometimes as support because they are quiet, and underneath it, they actually are not aligned. And so typically what happens is that is sort of like a little tiny ticking time bomb where the tension will surface later, and it could likely surface at a time when you're no longer there as that transitioner. So 2.0 works better for sure. It avoids the shock of 1.0, and it still feels though, it falls short of creating that genuine buy-in. And it also falls short in you as an owner actually understanding what the assets that you have, how they can be used by various individuals to help them live their best life forward, because this is going to impact them more than it impacts you in the future when you're not here. Transition 2.0 gives you compliance, and it does not give you commitment. People live up to their commitments, not your expectations. But as long as you're around, you'll probably get that compliance that you're looking for. So let's move on to transition 3.0. This is my favorite. It's our favorite. And the idea behind it is collaborative design. So this is a breakthrough in thinking because there are very few people in the world that take this approach and actually can manage the multiple people and the multiple desires and the multiple input points to come up with a strategy that meets a majority of everybody's objectives. One thing you'll hear us say over and over and over again is people don't get everything they want, but hopefully they get most of the most important things that they want. That's the idea behind Transition 3.0. You understand what people want, and the design is built such that most everybody gets the most important things, because we don't all get exactly what we want in a business transition or an asset transition. So this model is the first model that consistently works because it finally includes the part that every other model ignores. It includes the human side, and it makes it easy. So it's built around one idea that you can build the future with the people who will live in it. Remember, you're not the one, likely and ideally, that is going to have to carry this business forward. Hopefully you're the one that gets to watch it and see it thrive into the future and know that you were the one that started it and you were the one that helped the people to navigate it forward. So in Transition 3.0, it doesn't mean that you're giving up authority or handing over control, but what it does mean is you're creating alignment before the decisions are finalized so that the plan is actually durable, supported, and understood. It helps you in 3.0, you are able to bring the right people into the conversation early. You can clarify values, roles, expectations, timelines together. You get to uncover the motivations and the concerns before they turn into a conflict. Getting ahead of that is a big deal. And anybody who values relationships in their lives, making sure that you can avoid that conflict, good idea. It really helps to not have to clean that up someday because you missed it. And you also get to design the roadmap collaboratively instead of what feels like imposing it in version 2.0 and also 1.0. The buy-in replaces the compliance, where your clarity replaces some of your assumptions. And where the unity replaces that quiet resentment. And we just have, just yesterday was working with a family on some governance, and the father, we were just doing a little bit of the footwork before we take it to the rest of the family. And he said, I think of all my kids, there might be 2 that don't really want maybe ownership or don't really want to be on the board, even if they do have ownership. Now think about that for a minute. Wouldn't you assume in version 2.0 and also in version 1.0, transition 1.0, that all the kids want ownership, that they all want to be on the board, that they all want to be making the decisions. That's not true, especially as a family gets bigger or the number of owners gets larger. So it's fun to gain clarity and replace your assumptions. And it's fun to create unity. And it's fun to have buy-in. It makes the road and the journey so much better. So Transition 3.0, it protects relationships, strengthens your leadership. It builds a business that can stand the test of time. And that's one of the reasons why the transition strategist success rate is over 90%. And we all know the industry, this transition industry, statistically, only 30% is where that number hovers. So we're 3 times more successful than the average success rate in the country. Why does 3.0 consistently work? 60% of transitions fail, even with the perfect legal documents and estate plans. The reason why is because they aren't taking care of the human side. 2.0, transition 1.0 and 2.0, that one only solves typically the technical side. But transitions truly fall apart more on the human side. They fall apart because of assumptions, unspoken expectations, misaligned visions, one wanting to go one way and another going another. Personality differences, not valuing each other, the fear of disappointment and confusion about roles and timing and authority. All of those things put a transition at risk. So Transition 1.0 hides everything until the end. Transition 2.0 shares the plan but hides the thinking and the integration of others. And then only 3.0 opens up the process that creates the alignment to make that plan actually work with your next generation. That's the heart of why 3.0 succeeds. People support what they help create. That's the foundation. So when both generations co-design the path forward, the transition sticks. It works. Everything else is guesswork. We think Transition 3.0 is leadership. So when you look at these 3 models, I'm hoping that you can see how business transition has evolved, how the planning has evolved, how we've moved from secrecy to early announcement, and now to finally including the people who actually have to live with these decisions. And I think it's clear why the first 2 fail. They ignore the human side, the relationships, expectations, clarity people want and need to move forward together. And Transition 3.0, that solves that. It brings people into the process in a healthy and structured way, builds trust, strengthens the ownership's leadership, and it creates a roadmap that everybody actually believes in. And I don't know if you as an owner if you hadn't believed in your company and where you were taking it and how you wanted to build it, it wouldn't have happened. When you have successors coming in, they're the ones that need to believe that this roadmap forward is the right one for them and the right one for the business. If they don't believe that, then you are at risk for this business going forward well. So the real question is, if you want a transition that actually works, what's your plan to build it in a Transition 3.0 process? If you don't have that strategy yet to get that built or that platform to do it, we'd love to have you come and look at the Evolve program. That's exactly why we built it, is so that owners and transitioners and successors can come in and they can work together. So Evolve takes everything we talked about in this session, continuity, clarity, shared design, and optionality, and it turns it into a structured step-by-step roadmap that you can build out your transition strategy with the people who matter most, with the people who are going to live with these decisions into the future. In Evolve, you get the tools, the conversations, you get a guide with one-on-one support on a monthly basis. And that helps you to strengthen your leadership today and sets the next generation up for success tomorrow. It really is a beautiful opportunity. So I'd like to invite you to come and check out our Evolve community and our Evolve program. It truly makes a difference, and it's a wonderful collaborative journey. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Business Transition Roadmap. If you're ready to start shaping your own transition strategy, which I'm really hoping that you are, our team at the Transition Strategists would love to offer you a free discovery strategy session where you can explore what might be good for you and just some new ideas. We've got a new perspective and a new approach with people first. And a lot of what we talk about, nobody has ever really done before. So I want to encourage you to think about that and to go to transitionstrategist.com/discovery to schedule your call if you are even curious. It's free, no pressure. We'd love to talk to you. And by the way, if you're a successor or if you've got one in your business, you'll also want to check out for sure Your Next Gen Friend, a Successor's Guide to Business Transition. It's a podcast that's hosted by my successor, Andrea Carpenter. She's incredible. And this one is specifically designed for rising leaders in family businesses. So thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on the Business Transition Roadmap.